welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review and 3 eyeshadow looks using the new Pillowtalk palette from Charlotte Tilbury. So this is the large limited edition. This is the Instant Eye Palette in the Pillowtalk story. This is the exact same size as her holiday palettes. So this is last year's holiday palette and then this year's holiday palette. So this palette retails for $75. Again, it is limited edition. They are saying that all of these shades are brand new to her brand. Even though the shades are brand new, they are very similar to many of her color stories that she has launched in the last 2 years. And I have several Charlotte Tilbury palettes in my collection. In the video, I'm going to create 3 tutorials, kind of going through it, you know, playing with as many shades as I can, and then at the end I will compare this palette and swatch it next to tons of the other palettes that I have, just so that you guys can see the variations in color compared to, you know, some of the other palettes. In case you have these other palettes that I have, then you can see if this is something that you would want in your collection. I wasn't going to originally get this, and it's only because, full disclosure, Pillowtalk is not my favorite quad from Charlotte Tilbury. And the reason is just because it doesn't have enough dimension. Like, there's not enough depth in this palette. And for me, being like a medium skin tone, I struggled trying to get any kind of depth from this palette. If you're like a fair or light skin tone, I could see you really enjoying this because this is a beautiful palette for that skin tone. But for me or anybody that's darker than me, this has just not been my favorite. It just doesn't have enough depth. In the video, I'm going to really do some comparisons to see if this is something that you guys are interested in. Also, just to save time, because I didn't want this video to be really, really long doing the 3 tutorials, I'm not going to be doing any talking through the tutorials. I'm just going to play music and go through each tutorial. You know, I will show up on the screen which shade I'm going to be using as I'm using it, just so that you guys know. Every time I do a tutorial and I talk through each tutorial, it takes a lot more time than it does just to go through it and, you know, just have you guys watch me do the look. Go ahead and jump into the 3 tutorials that I created using this palette. And then afterwards, I will come back, I will do all the comparison images. You guys will see all of them compared to all of the palettes that I have in my collection. And then I will come back and give you guys my full final thoughts at the end. So without further ado, let's jump right into the tutorials. Okay, so I'm back to give my final thoughts on this palette. So, as you guys saw in all of the swatches, I've been swatching for probably about 2 hours now. And what I'm seeing is, if you have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in your collection, whether you have, you know, these big palettes, especially the one from last year, so I would say there was a lot of similarities between the Stars in Your Eyes and this one, just based on all of these shades right through here. Now this one does have a little bit more golds in it, which is nice. The one thing that I will say that I do like about this palette is that these 3 shades right here are her matte shades. So I like that, because a lot of her other palettes, she only has just a few mattes and the rest are shimmers. And like this is last year's, which I've used so much. And even like this year's, she only had just a few matte shades and the rest were all shimmers, which is totally fine. I like how 8 of the 12 are matte, because I can pull shadows from here. So like, for example, if I was creating a look with even the traditional Pillowtalk palette that I don't reach for that much because there's not a lot of depth in that palette, I can pull depth from here because these shadows blend really nice, and they do have a lot of depth. I'm finding a lot of similar tones, similar shades. Now, of course, I wouldn't say they're identical, but the point that I'm making is, you know, if you do already have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in your collection, is this one that you need to run out and grab? No. I don't know that this is something that you absolutely need, because, you know, if you have like even one of these, like, you know, one of these smaller palettes and this, you kind of already have the palette in your collection. If you don't have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in your collection and you are drawn to these like normal, everyday, like neutral shades, then this is a nice palette to pick up. If you've been wanting to buy more Charlotte Tilbury, or maybe you don't have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury palettes in your collection, then this is definitely a nice palette. Now, for me personally, I will definitely be keeping this, you know, just because I already have it, and I do really love Charlotte Tilbury. It's one of my favorite brands. Even though it's a beautiful palette and these are all new shades, I don't necessarily think that this palette is anything different than we've already seen from her. It's just in a different arrangement, and there's just different shades that she's kind of combined into the one palette. I do really like the palette. I think it performed well. I think the shimmers are beautiful. The mattes blend good. There's nothing wrong with the formula at all. It's her traditional formula in all of her palettes. But I think on an individual basis, I think you have to decide, is this a palette that you absolutely need? And if you do, then go ahead and grab it. If you don't, then I would definitely pass. I don't know that this is something that you need to run out and grab, even though it is a limited edition. She is so repetitive with her shades, then I don't know that this is going to be one that you're never going to be able to get again. You might not be able to get it in this exact arrangement. She's so repetitive in the tones of her palette that 9 times out of 10, we're probably going to see more of these same type of tones in all of the other palettes that she releases. If you guys are considering buying this palette, I just recommend going through all of your Charlotte Tilbury palettes, lay them all out on the floor, take a picture of them, and then compare it side by side to an image of this palette, just to really see if it's something that you need. Again, I just recommend going through your Charlotte Tilbury, like pull it all out and lay it out on the floor, take a picture of it, and compare it to this. And then you can decide if you need this palette. Personally, I think this is a beautiful palette. I like the shadows. I think they performed well. So on a review standpoint, they perform beautifully and they work well. It's just you have to decide in your collection if it's something that you need. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. I hope the tutorials and the swatches and everything were helpful. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys picked up this palette, if you're liking it, how you guys feel about it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for the love that you show me and my channel. It means so much to me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day filled with love and joy. I will see you guys in my next video, and I love you all so much. Bye.